When we talk about the qualities that make a super empath someone a narcissist truly despises, we have to start with one of the most powerful abilities they possess, their ability to see through manipulation instantly. Narcissists thrive on control, deceit, and emotional games. It's their bread and butter. But here's the thing, a super empath is like a human lie detector. They can spot manipulation from a mile away, and when they sense that something is off, they don't need a second opinion. They don't need to ask around or question their instincts. They trust themselves. Narcissists build their entire world around lies. They weave elaborate stories, gaslight people, distort facts, and present a false image of who they really are. They want you to believe that you're crazy for questioning their actions or that you're the one overreacting when you see through the cracks in their narrative. And to a certain extent, this works with most people, but not with the super empath. Imagine being in a relationship where everything seems perfect on the surface. Your partner showers you with compliments, makes promises about the future, and says all the right things to make you feel loved. But there's just something that doesn't sit right. Maybe it's the way they look at their phone when you're talking or how they suddenly disappear for hours without explanation. Maybe they tell you one thing and their actions speak something else entirely. For the super empath, this is where the magic happens. While most people might second guess themselves or chalk it up to paranoia, the empath's deep emotional intelligence allows them to tune into subtle cues, body language, tone of voice, energy shifts that reveal the truth. Their ability to feel and understand the emotions of others goes beyond surface-level interactions. They can tell when someone is hiding something, even if that person is expert at covering their tracks, and they'll see right through the narcissist's attempt to manipulate them. It's not just about catching someone in a lie, it's about feeling the energy in the room. A narcissist might try to gaslight the super empath, telling them they're imagining things or making mountains out of molehills, but the empath knows. They feel the tension, the insincerity, and the hidden agenda. And this isn't just a fleeting gut feeling, it's a deeply ingrained ability that they've honed over time, often due to their own past experiences with toxic individuals. It's almost like a sixth sense that keeps them one step ahead of anyone trying to pull a fast one. So what happens when the narcissist realizes they can no longer manipulate the empath? Well, that's when the power struggle begins. Narcissists hate being exposed. They need control. And the moment they see that they can't control the super empath, their world begins to crumble. They might try to double down, gaslight more aggressively, or even manipulate the empath into feeling guilty for catching them in the act. But the empath, they won't be fooled. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They just know what's true. It's like playing a game of chess. The narcissist might think they're moving their pieces cleverly, trying to box in their opponent with deceit and lies. But the super empath sees the entire board. They know exactly what the narcissist is trying to do, and they've already figured out their next move. They don't need to play by the narcissist's rules because their ability to see through manipulation gives them an unbeatable advantage. This quality is especially powerful when it comes to relationships. In romantic relationships, narcissists often use manipulation as a way to control their partner. They might tell you that they love you while actively undermining your confidence or creating drama to keep you on edge. They may promise the world only to deliver disappointment or emotional abandonment. It's a constant game of power and control. But the super empath, they don't fall for it. They don't need to constantly question their partner's motives because they trust their own perception of reality. They don't need anyone else to validate what they already know deep inside. This ability to see through the narcissist's lies and manipulation is what makes the super empath so powerful. Narcissists rely on their ability to charm and deceive those around them, but when they encounter someone who can't be tricked, someone who sees through the facade without hesitation, it's like their entire strategy collapses. They can no longer rely on their charm, their emotional games, or their carefully constructed stories. The super empath is immune to their tactics. In fact, this is one of the reasons why narcissists often struggle with super empaths. They can manipulate a lot of people, but they can't manipulate someone who sees through their every move. They can't control someone who has the emotional intelligence to recognize their toxic behavior and call it out for what it is. And that is one of the most frightening things for a narcissist. The power they once had over people, gone. Now, I want you to really think about how this impacts the relationship dynamic. If you've ever been in a situation where someone was playing games with you, trying to control you or manipulate your emotions, you know how draining it can be. It can make you question yourself, your worth, your sanity. But when you become a super empath, you realize that you no longer need to give them that power. You no longer have to second guess your instincts or allow yourself to be dragged down by someone else's lies. The truth will always come to light, and when you know the truth, you don't need to fight for it. So you simply walk away with the confidence that you didn't allow yourself to be manipulated. And this is exactly why narcissists hate super empaths, because the empath won't play the game. They won't get lost in the narcissist's web of lies. They can't be controlled, and they can't be manipulated. The narcissist's tricks don't work, and that is what strikes fear into their hearts. The narcissist knows that when they meet a super empath, they've just met their match. Now let's talk about something that really shakes a narcissist to their core boundaries. I'm not just talking about the kind of boundaries people write in journals and forget up the next day. I'm talking about real solid, non-negotiable boundaries, the kind that don't budge when someone crosses the line. And let me tell you, super empaths have them. They might be gentle, compassionate, and deeply understanding, but don't confuse that with weakness. A super empath who's done the work on themselves knows exactly where the line is, and if you cross it, they'll remind you real quick. You see, narcissists hate boundaries because boundaries expose limits, and narcissists don't like limits. They want to operate freely without consequence. They want to come and go in your life as they please. They want to do whatever they want and still expect your loyalty. But a super empath, they don't play that game. They know the value of peace, and they know the cost of chaos. They're not going to let anyone, especially someone who cheats, lies, or manipulates, walk all over them. That door might open once, but best believe it'll slam shut if disrespected. Now, here's where it gets real. When a boy cheats, and I say boy, because that ain't a man move, a super empath doesn't just sit around waiting for an apology. They don't beg for love. They don't chase closure. They don't make excuses. What they do is recognize the betrayal for exactly what it is, a violation of trust. And then they act accordingly. You cheat on a super empath, they don't spiral into self-doubt. They start remembering who they are. And that's the part the narcissist never expects. See, they mistake the empath's kindness for passivity. They think just because you are patient, loving, forgiving, that you'll accept anything. But that's where they get it wrong. Super empaths love deeply, that's true. But they also walk away powerfully. That combination, that's dangerous to someone who thought they had you wrapped around their finger. You cheat, and a super empath won't just walk, they'll do it in silence, without warning, and without ever giving you the satisfaction of a reaction. So that's not about revenge for them. It's about reclaiming their self-respect. It's about not allowing anyone to diminish their worth. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about keeping your peace in. When a narcissist pushes those boundaries, trying to test the limits, the empath doesn't argue. They don't fight to be understood. They just remove access. They protect their energy like it's sacred because it is. And let's not forget, the narcissist depends on your reaction. They want you to lose control. They want you to cry, yell, chase, beg. That feeds their ego. That confirms they still have influence. But when a super empath doesn't give them any of that, when they go quiet, stay calm, and cut ties, that's the narcissist's worst nightmare. Because now they're not in control. Now, they don't get to decide how the story ends. And the reason empaths are able to do this, to hold these boundaries, is because they've been through the fire already. So you don't become a super empath overnight. It takes heartbreak, betrayal, and yes, being played a few times to build that kind of strength. But once you've been through it, you recognize the signs early. You don't fall for charm or sweet words. You watch the patterns, you observe the actions. And if something doesn't align, you don't wait around hoping it'll change. You move accordingly. So when a boy cheats and thinks he's just going to come back with a my bad or some tired excuse, the super empath will look at him like he's already a distant memory. Because boundaries mean that betrayal has a cost. It means actions have consequences. And you don't get to hurt someone who loved you and expect them to keep loving you like nothing happened. This is the kind of power narcissists hate. They want someone who will tolerate the emotional roller coaster, someone who will stick around no matter what. But super empaths, they don't do emotional discounts. They don't negotiate with disrespect. Cheat, and you're out, period. Not because they don't love, but because they love themselves more. That's self-love. That's the key. Super empaths pour into others, yes, but they've also learned to pour into themselves. They don't just give away their love to anyone who asks for it. They require reciprocity, honesty, integrity. They know their love is rare, and they're not about to waste it on someone who doesn't see the value in it. So let me be clear. If someone cheats on a super empath and they think they're going to just slide back into their life like nothing happened, that door is locked, bolted, and blessed with peace. And the empath, they're already on to the next chapter, not another relationship necessarily, but the next level of their own growth. They'll use that betrayal as fuel. They'll heal, elevate, and evolve, and the narcissist will be stuck watching from the sidelines, wondering how they lost something they never deserved to begin with. The most dangerous kind of woman is the one who's no longer afraid to lose you. The one who stopped explaining herself. The one who's not afraid to set boundaries and actually enforce them. That's the woman a narcissist can't handle. That's the woman a boy who cheats will never have again. And that's exactly why they hate super empaths. Let's keep it real. Emotional intelligence is a weapon, not a loud one, not a flashy one, but a sharp, surgical kind of weapon. And when a super empath walks into a room, that emotional intelligence is on full display, whether they announce it or not. They don't need to flex it. They just are it. It's built into their DNA. It's the way they listen, the way they notice what's not being said, the way they catch a shift in tone or a fake smile that everybody else misses. See, narcissists thrive on people not being in tune with themselves. They count on your confusion. They rely on your inability to process what's happening so they can keep pulling strings behind the scenes. But when they meet a super empath with a high emotional IQ, the game changes instantly. A narcissist walks into a relationship hoping to find someone they can manipulate, someone they can condition into becoming a mirror for their ego. They want admiration, control, submission. They want someone who will bend and twist and fold under pressure just to keep the peace. But a super empath doesn't bend like that. Why? Because emotional intelligence means they understand not just themselves, but you. And when someone understands you deeply, they also understand your patterns. They see your triggers, your avoidance, your emotional games, all of it. And they won't just call it out. They'll reflect it back to you in a way that exposes it without even raising their voice. Now that reflection, that's what narcissists can't handle. See, the narcissist is used to projecting. They're used to shifting blame, turning the tables, pointing fingers, and they do it in a way that confuses people. But a super empath doesn't get confused. They don't internalize other people's dysfunction. You can gaslight a room, lie to everyone in it, but you can't lie to someone who already knows the truth because they feel it. That's what emotional intelligence does. It cuts through the noise and hears what's underneath. That's why narcissists hate super empaths. They don't just listen to words, they hear intentions. They don't just watch behavior, they sense motives. And that level of clarity, that's threatening. Because when you can see someone's emotional blueprint, you can't be manipulated. You can't be swayed by sweet words or false promises. You already know the person's hiding something, and now it's only a matter of time before the mask slips. You ever notice how narcissists act when they're losing control? They start spinning stories. They twist reality. They start calling you too sensitive or too emotional because they want to make you doubt yourself. But you can't make someone doubt themselves when they know who they are. Super empaths don't crumble under gaslighting. They rise above it, not because they're cold or detached, but because their emotional intelligence makes them secure. And security terrifies insecure people. Here's the thing, narcissists are emotional cowards. They wear a mask of confidence, but underneath it's all fear. Fear of exposure, fear of accountability, fear of being seen for who they really are. And a super empath, with all their emotional insight and calm awareness, becomes a mirror to that fear. They reflect everything the narcissist is trying to hide. That's why the narcissist tries to flip the script to make the empath feel like they're the problem. But it doesn't work, because emotional intelligence doesn't just give the super empath insight into others, it gives them power over themselves. They know when someone is projecting. They know when someone's trying to provoke them. And instead of reacting, they respond. Big difference, the narcissist wants drama. They feed on emotional outbursts because it gives them something to twist and use against you. But when a super empath stays centered, calm, grounded, when they keep their peace while chaos is being thrown at them, the narcissist has nothing to hold on to, nothing to manipulate, no fire to fuel. And when that happens, the narcissist starts unraveling, because emotional intelligence isn't just defense, it's offense. It disarms manipulation. It neutralizes control. It dismantles the game entirely. The empath doesn't have to raise their voice, argue, or prove anything. All they have to do is see clearly, and that vision alone strips the narcissist of their power. And let's be clear, this kind of emotional strength isn't weakness. It's not passive. It's power, silent power. The kind of power that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. The kind that can walk away from toxicity with peace in one hand and self-respect in the other. The narcissist may try to provoke the empath into anger or shame, but when the empath refuses to take the bait, the narcissist is left fighting a battle with no opponent. And that's when they realize they've lost. Now, apply that to a relationship where a boy cheats on a super empath. He thinks she's going to break down. He thinks she's going to chase him, cry for him, forgive him before he's even asked. But what actually happens? She reads the situation for what it is, not just the cheating itself, but what it says about his character. And because she's emotionally intelligent, she doesn't even need all the details. She just knows. She feels it. She sees the energy shift. And once she understands that trust is broken, she doesn't waste time trying to fix someone who doesn't even see the problem. She lets go. with grace, with clarity, and with a sense of finality that cuts deeper than any angry words ever could. Because emotional intelligence isn't just about empathy, it's about discernment. Knowing who deserves your energy, who's taking from it, and when it's time to walk away. And once the super Emp decides to walk, it's not out of spite, it's out of alignment. She's not leaving because she's bitter, she's leaving because peace doesn't live there anymore. And that's why narcissists hate super empaths. Let me tell you something most people overlook. One of the most intimidating traits of a super empath is their ability to walk away and never look back. I'm not talking about a dramatic exit. I'm not talking about blocking someone and then secretly checking their page at midnight. I'm talking about real, unshakable detachment. The kind where they don't slam the door, they just close it softly, lock it, and toss the key. That level of peace, that level of emotional discipline, that scares narcissists more than anything. You see, a narcissist depends on cycles: love bomb, devalue, discard, hover, repeat. That's their entire playbook. They count on you staying emotionally entangled, whether it's through love or hate. As long as you're reacting, they know they've still got a grip on your mind. They don't care if you cry or curse them out. In fact, that fuels them. Because to a narcissist, attention is attention, energy is energy, good or bad, they feed on it. But when a super empath decides to walk away, and they do it in silence, with clarity and no need for closure, that's a different game altogether. That's when the narcissist starts to panic. Because here's what they don't expect: the same person who loved them deeply, who forgave their excuses, who tried to see the good in them, that same person can become emotionally untouchable. Not out of spite, but out of growth. That's the difference. When a super empath walks away, it's not to prove a point. It's because they've learned the lesson. And once that lesson is locked in, the connection is no longer needed. The super empath doesn't need revenge. They don't need validation. They don't even need an apology. What they need is peace. And when they don't find it with you, they'll go find it within themselves. And what makes it even more powerful is how they do it. Quietly, with no need to explain themselves. They don't make speeches. They don't leave paragraphs. They don't give you the satisfaction of watching them break down. They just stop showing up. No drama, no warnings, no begging, just gone. And the narcissist? Oh, they hate that because they're used to people giving them the upper hand, used to people fighting for their attention, crawling back, needing something from them. But a super empath doesn't move from need. They move from alignment. If the energy isn't right, they're out. No guilt, no second guessing. And let's get something straight. This isn't some cold-hearted reaction. This is the result of emotional maturity, because super empaths do love deeply. That's what makes their detachment so powerful. They don't walk away easily. They give chances. They try. They communicate. They give you the benefit of the doubt. But once they see the pattern, once they realize that you've shown them who you are and you meant it, they don't cling to potential. They honor the reality and they move accordingly. So when a boy cheats on a super empath and he thinks she's going to sit around trying to fix it, he's already lost. Because a super empath doesn't fight for a connection that's been broken by betrayal. She doesn't rewrite her worth to make room for someone's inability to respect her. She doesn't make excuses for why someone treated her like she was replaceable. What she does is remember who she is, and she leaves. With her head high, with her dignity intact, and with no need to return. See, the narcissist expects her to need closure. They expect her to need their explanation, their attention, maybe even their fake tears. But a super empath knows that closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you create when you stop needing answers from someone who lied to you in the first place. That's the shift. That's the power. They don't need the why. They don't need the what if. They don't need to decode mixed signals or dig through emotional messes to figure out what went wrong. They see the disrespect for what it is, and they treat it as a full sentence, not a comma, not a pause, a period. And it's that ability to walk away and not look back that leaves narcissists completely disarmed. Because once a super empath is done, they're done. There's no loophole, no second chance, no manipulation that can bring them back, because their peace, that becomes more important than the potential of any relationship. Their joy, their healing, their purpose, that takes priority. And when you try to circle back later, when you realize what you lost and try to play the I've changed card, it's too late. The door isn't just closed. The whole house is moved. This kind of strength doesn't come from bitterness. It comes from clarity. And when you combine empathy with clarity, you get a level of self-respect that nobody can shake. That's what makes super empaths different. They feel everything, yes, but they also know how to act in spite of those feelings. They can miss you and still not want you back. They can care about you and still not tolerate disrespect. They can love you and still walk away. That's the kind of woman you don't play with. So for any narcissist thinking they've got it all figured out, thinking they can lie, cheat, manipulate, and still come back when it's convenient, I've got news for you. A super empath isn't waiting. She's not sitting around hoping you'll change. She's out there living her life, loving herself harder, walking in purpose, and healing so thoroughly that you don't even exist in the same chapter anymore. And that's why narcissists hate super empaths. But one thing that really sets super empaths apart and makes narcissists absolutely hate them is that they are truth seekers. And not just seekers of facts, but seekers of truth in the deepest raw sense. That unshakable, gut-level truth that cuts through the illusions, the masks, and the performances. See, a narcissist builds their entire world around a carefully constructed image. It's all smoke and mirrors, surface-level charm, and just enough vulnerability to bait sympathy without ever giving anything real. But when a super empath shows up in their life, that illusion doesn't hold up. Why? Because super empaths feel what others try to hide. It's not even about being suspicious. It's about intuition mixed with clarity. When someone's energy doesn't match their words, the super empath picks up on it. They're not interested in polished appearances. They're looking at intention, authenticity, alignment. So when a narcissist starts telling half-truths, twisting stories, playing the victim thinking they're putting on the performance of the year, the empath sees straight through it. They don't always call it out right away, but trust they know. And that knowing, that's what the narcissist can't stand. Because when someone can't be fooled, they can't be controlled. A narcissist thrives on confusion. They want you second-guessing yourself. They want to keep you off balance. They'll say one thing to another and then blame you for noticing the contradiction. But when a super empath is around, that game falls apart. They're grounded. They know what their gut is telling them. They know how to listen to what's beneath the surface. And when something doesn't sit right, they don't ignore it just to keep the peace. Now, let me tell you how this plays out when a boy cheats. He thinks he's slick, thinks he's got the story lined up, the excuses rehearsed, the timeline cleaned. But what he doesn't realize is that the super empath already knows something's off way before he ever admits it, if he even does. Because energy doesn't lie, behavior doesn't lie. And a woman in tune with the truth doesn't need evidence when the vibe already told her everything she needed to know. She may not confront it right away, but she starts emotionally pulling back. She starts observing. And when the confirmation comes, she's not even surprised because her soul already told her the truth. That truth is sacred to her. And when someone tries to distort it, manipulate it, or cover it up, she doesn't just get hurt, she gets clear. And once she's clear, she can't unsee it. That's what makes her so powerful. She's not someone you can gaslight back into confusion. She doesn't forget the way a lie feels in the pit of her stomach. And even if you come back later trying to rewrite the past, trying to tell her it didn't happen the way she remembers, she knows better. Because her truth isn't based on your version of events. It's rooted in her intuition, her discernment, her emotional intelligence. And no one can take that from her. That's a dangerous woman to someone who lives in deception. A narcissist needs people who are disconnected from their own truth because those people are easier to mold. But a super empath, she's truth. She speaks it. She seeks it. She lives by it. And when she senses deception, she doesn't tolerate it. She doesn't justify it. She doesn't stay silent to avoid conflict. She calls it for what it is, and if she's not heard, she walks. Now here's where the tables turn completely. The narcissist thought they were in control, thought they were playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. But now they're facing someone who's not even playing the game. The super empath isn't trying to manipulate the board. She's walking away from it. She's not reacting emotionally. She's responding with truth. And there's no defense against that. You can't twist someone who sees too clearly. You can't fool someone who refuses to abandon what they know deep down is right. And the more she stands in that truth, the more she becomes immune to the narcissist's tactics. Love bombing. She sees the strings behind it. Silent treatment. She takes it as peace. Guilt trips. They bounce off her because she's not operating from guilt. She's operating from alignment. And that clarity, that raw, fearless connection to truth is what leaves the narcissist with no more tools in the toolbox. They can't manipulate someone who doesn't fear losing them. They can't gaslight someone who knows themselves. They can't control someone who values truth more than connection. And if we really break it down, the super empath isn't just dangerous to narcissists because of what she sees in them. She's dangerous because of what she refuses to unsee it herself. She honors her intuition. She trusts her discernment. She doesn't second guess her boundaries just because someone is offended by them. She doesn't stay silent when something feels off. And she doesn't keep people in her life who force her to deny her own reality. That is real self-love. That is strength. So when a boy cheats and the empath finds out, don't expect her to unravel. I don't expect her to chase down the why, to beg for honesty, or to stay in confusion. I expect her to gather herself, to trust what her soul already told her, and to make a decision from a place of truth. Expect her to detach with grace. Expect her to reclaim her peace. Because for a super empath, truth isn't just something she wants. It's something she requires. And if you can't offer it, she won't offer you her presence. And that's why narcissists hate super empaths. You know what really drives a narcissist up the wall? What shakes them to the core? It's when they realize the person they tried to break, the person they underestimated, manipulated, betrayed is not only healing, but glowing afterward. That glow up, that bounce back, that transformation after the storm. That's the final slap in the face to someone who thought they had power over your spirit. Because the super empath doesn't just survive, she evolves. And when she evolves, she becomes untouchable. See, narcissists live for the moment after the discard. That's their high. They want to see you wrecked. And they want to see you stuck, spiraling, second-guessing your worth. They want to believe they had such a grip on your identity that you couldn't move on without them. And for a while, you might be down. Let's not lie about it. Empaths feel things deeply, and when betrayal hits, it cuts to the bone. It shakes your foundation. It makes you question everything yourself, your judgment, your past, your future. But here's the difference. That pain doesn't break a super empath. It builds her. Pain is her teacher. Disappointment is her fuel. Betrayal is her wake-up call. And when she sits in that discomfort, when she stops trying to numb it or run from it and finally turns to face it, that's when the shift happens. She starts healing, not just from the narcissist, but from everything that made her vulnerable to them in the first place. She doesn't just patch up the damage. She rebuilds the entire foundation. And when she emerges, she's no longer the same version of herself that entered the storm. That's the part the narcissist never anticipates. They remember the soft version, the forgiving version, the one who overlooked the red flags because she believed in the good. But what they don't realize is that each tear, each sleepless night, each lonely day was shaping her into something fierce. She was learning boundaries. She was learning self-worth. She was learning how to give herself the love she kept trying to get from someone else. And by the time the narcissist tries to spin the block and come back around, she's already evolved past the version of herself that ever wanted them. This glow up isn't just physical. It's spiritual, emotional, mental. It's the kind of glow that comes from doing the shadow work, from sitting in silence and learning how to be whole, from choosing peace over chaos, from realizing that not everyone deserves access to you just because they want it. It's the glow that says, I don't need you. I needed to find me. And that glow, that's what narcissists fear the most. Because once you reach that point, you become immune to their bait. Their charm doesn't work anymore. Their manipulations feel small. Their presence starts to feel like a step backward instead of a temptation. And the narcissist starts to notice it too. They feel that energy shift. They sense that they no longer intimidate or influence you. They watch you laugh louder, walk taller, move freer, and they know they had nothing to do with it. In fact, they were the reason you had to find the strength in the first place. And that's what bruises their ego the most. What they wanted was for you to fall apart. What they didn't expect was that you'd rise and that you'd do it better. You'd stop shrinking yourself. You'd stop doubting your voice. You'd stop watering yourself down to fit their comfort zone. And when you stop doing that, you become a threat to every mask they wear. Because now you not only see the truth, you walk in it. Now you not only know your worth, you embody it. Now you not only understand your power, you own it. And don't get it twisted, this glow up is earned. It comes with scars. It comes with nights you didn't think you'd get through. It comes with hard choices and lonely seasons. But you chose yourself. You chose heals. You chose to rise when you could have stayed stuck. And that's why you shine now. Not because you were never broken, but because you rebuilt yourself better, wiser, softer in some places, sharper in others, but always grounded, always aligned. So when a boy cheats on a super empath and thinks it's the end of her, he's wrong. It's just the beginning. It's the beginning of her becoming someone even he wouldn't recognize anymore. Not because she changed for revenge, but because she healed for her. And once she steps into that new version of herself, there's no going back. Not to the pain, not to the drama, not to the confusion. And definitely not to the person who once treated her like an option. That kind of rise, when it's genuine, rooted, healing, and clarity, it speaks louder than any words ever could. It doesn't need a post. It doesn't need an announcement. It's in her energy. It's in how she carries herself. It's in the way she no longer needs to prove her worth because she knows it now. And when the narcissist sees her walking in that power, living fully, loving herself deeply, they know they lost the best thing they ever had. And they know they can never reach her again. And that's why narcissists hate super empaths.